asking people, and I don't even know how I came across that page. And I'm like, all these people have started the game. Initially, I was dancing. So I'm like, okay, let me just try. I took a leap of faith, and I sent her a message. From the very first hi, they were so nice. They asked questions.
Take a pause there. Yeah. I'm going to tell you exactly where you go to, but I need to go to doctor now.
Yeah. Yes, like what she was saying, she was mentioning ovarian cysts. Ovarian cysts are common among women, especially of the reproductive age group, like we all know. So most times, most women don't even know they have ovarian cysts unless they present with pain or abdominal disturbance. That's why they can know they have ovarian cyst. But the problem is, most people don't usually investigate themselves to know whether there's an ovarian cyst present or not. So ovarian cysts are usually an enlargement of the ovaries. There's something we call ovaries in the female body. They usually produce eggs. This is the eggs that get fertilized and you have a baby. So most times, if the egg grow in size and go to a big number, that's when we say we have ovarian cyst.
Okay.
So most times the symptoms can give the person are usually abdominal pain, menstrual disorder. Sometimes you will notice that your period is just staying over for more than the 3 or 5 days you usually experience it. Sometimes you even notice that you are feeling like you are pregnant, but you are not pregnant. So it's usually good to evaluate ovarian cysts because it could also cause infertility. Yes.
Can I ask you now, sir?
Yes.
What is the difference between fibroid and ovarian cyst?
Fibroid is an abdominal growth. Let me just use the word tumor of the muscles of the womb. The womb is the uterus. So fibroid only occur in the uterus. Ovarian cysts only occur in the ovaries. The ovary produces egg. When the egg is being produced and get fertilized by the coming of the sperm to fertilize it, it's being fertilized in the uterus. That's the womb.
So fibroid occurs in the uterus.
Yes.
Which is the womb.
Yes.
Ovarian cyst occurs in the ovaries.
Yes.
But they have similar symptoms.
Yes, they have similar symptoms.
Both of them can lead to infertility.
Yes, if not properly managed.
Can people have fibroid and ovarian cyst at the same time?
It could coexist together. You have fibroid, you have ovarian cyst. Just different etiologies, different causes, but they could all be there together at once.
And they might both require surgery.
Yes. The management of fibroid, as of now, it depends on whether symptomatic or not from us doctors. Most times we might advise surgery. Ovarian cyst, depending on the size. We should all know that women most times also have ovarian cysts as they will not know. Some ovarian cysts can degenerate on their own.
Oh.
Yes. But there are some big ones that won't degenerate on their own that might require management because it will cause pain. It might even cause pain during sex. It will cause menstrual disturbances. Like I said, your period might be overshooting. You now have period for like 12, 10 days. Then some people might even have pregnancy symptoms. Then we should also know that there are some ovarian cysts that are malignant. What we mean by malignant is that they could cause cancer or can lead to cancer. That's why it is needed to be properly evaluated.
Okay, thank you. So now we have the medical angle. Now you should be asking yourself, what are the symptoms I'm having? What's my body telling me? What's my sister's body telling her? What did my friend tell me about her body that would probably make me think that it is ovarian cyst or fibroid or none of the above? Those questions should be coming up in your head by now. And I would like you to know that since we're live, you can send your questions on either Olaherbals page or on the Passions Bosses page, and we can be picking the questions as we move along. Dr. Ayo is still here, but I'm going back to Bewaji so that we can go back to the real life experience, how it went down. So then you discovered Olaherbals, and then you reached out to them. So you were talking about your first contact with them and your experience with them.
Yeah, I sent a DM on Instagram just like every other customer would. A very fast response, and made them ask for my scan result at the time. which I sent, and she was like, okay, I'd put you in 3 months treatment. I was still doubting.
At that time, you had not met her?
No.
It was online?
I didn't even know what was behind the page.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I didn't know what was behind the page. So the person who attended to me on Instagram said to me, oh, put you on 3 months treatment. I was skeptical about it. I'm like, let me just start with a month. At the time, I was in serious pain in the hospital. I think I was admitted for about 4 days because of this. And they had to check whether or not it was malignant. I had this a test, a CA something test.
CA125.
Exactly. So when we notified that, I said, okay, let me try. And as usual, doctors are very skeptical about herbs. So I said it at the time at the hospital. My doctor's like, I'm not sure I support of that. And I'm like, please, sir, before you cut me, let me try. Let me try. And it was really scary. Even my mom was, hey, let's trust him. I mean, let me just try. I didn't know I had faith in this brand prior to even meeting the person.
But you were actually throwing your last net.
Yes. I backed it up with prayer. It has to work. And I did. I think the very first time I had it, I was surprised that it wasn't even bitter.
Okay, before we go to the product, I'd like to come to Ola. Ola, why do you always insist on scan? And the reason why I'm asking this question is every time I post about Ola's product, and people come to my DM and then I tell them, but scan, why is scan so important in the process? And not the healing process, because Ola won't even touch you unless she sees your scan to determine. So why is it so important, and what is the effect of the pre-scan and the post-scan when you do?
All right, so we don't treat all ovarian cysts, and we don't treat all fibroids. So any fibroid that is bigger than 10 cm, we usually reject the scan. So a scan is important, in fact mandatory for us to determine the size of the fibroids, the quantities of the fibroids, as well as the location of the fibroids. Take for instance, we have seen people who have 17 cm fibroids. He scanned them, and when they come into my office, I look at the scan, I look at the person. Are you serious? 17 cm where? I had to leave someone in my office one day. I went to the scanning center. I said, doctor, are you sure you measured it properly? This is 17 cm. And he said, go and bring her. So I took her back to the scanning center and he said, lie down. In fact, I didn't even need to talk again, because by the time she laid down, it was protruding already. And I said, oh no, I had to advise her to go and remove it. And sadly, she's a very young lady, like 22 years old, doctor, right? 22 years, just 22. So that means she must have had the fibroids since 17 years old or 18.
She didn't even know.
And she didn't know, or maybe she just felt normal pains, period pain and all. And that's one of the reasons why we usually encourage people to go, whether you are symptomatic or asymptomatic, whether you have symptoms or not, go for a scan. So that you'll be able to know if you have fibroids or not, because some people have 20 cm fibroids and they don't know until they start peeing frequently, and that's
to me every time I
very big.
talking about scanning. The next day you see me outside.
So let me introduce something concerning scanning. For us as a sonologist, like I'm a trained sonologist now, I think a woman within the reproductive age group should at least go for scan maybe twice or once in a year.
Twice or once in a year,
even if you don't have any complaint.
Or that back to you.
Sorry, I'm still going so well. In the sense that most people don't know that, especially when you have fibroid or cyst, depending on the size, most people don't even show symptoms. Because now, initially, when I was still in medical school, we only know about fibroid occurring in female around 25, 30. But now, you can see a 17-year-old girl having a fibroid of a tumor, as in of a bucket size. Okay. Based on influence, based on so many factors now that is coming up, based on our diet, based on our environment, based on maybe family history or so many other history. Okay. But what I'm just trying to say that if you have a complaint, an abdominal pain, try and do a scan. A scan is an objective way of measuring what is really happening. So you might have a fibroid, you might have ovarian cyst. I've seen patients that don't even have a womb. They don't even know until they're married. I know the patient has said she has not even menstruated for like 10 years. When I scanned her, there was no womb there. So people are born without ovaries. So they need to evaluate this and to know this.
So you don't even need, like Ola said, to to have symptoms as a woman.
Most times,
you need to just
fibroid
scan.
and fibroid ovarian cyst won't present with symptoms unless, that's why we call them, most of them are asymptomatic, unless they are large enough to cause symptoms. Some won't present.
Now, Ola, when you insist on this scan, and somebody tells you, but I did scan before, because I know you have done that so many times, and I almost got frustrated. And somebody like, I did scan before last week or 2 weeks ago or last month. I have the scan results. You always still insist. Not necessarily they don't have to come to your own center. I think it's actually the fact that a lot of people didn't know where to go and do scan that gave back to you having a scan center.
Absolutely.
But you always used to insist that you will need a scan within, is it
30 days.
30 days.
Not older than 30 days.
Not older than 30 days. Is it that a scan can be different within 30 days?
Yes, very true. Depending on the person's lifestyle as well as diet. We've seen someone who came in for a scan. So it was a doctor that scanned her, and she said she had faith. She believed, I will have faith with people. I believe. The moment you come in and say, I have faith, I join my faith with you, because there's absolutely nothing God cannot do, honestly. We back, in fact, Olaherbals is a ministry that is backed up with God's word. So she came in here, she had 4 fibroids. And by the time she came back, after 3 weeks, she already had 5 or 6 fibroids.
Wow.
It had increased.
Wow.
So we insisted that she should go for, that is why we always insist that we need a current scan. It was here she did it. It was 4 fibroids. I think there were about 3 or 4, but they had increased by the time
Within
she
the
came back.
space of how long?
I think 3 weeks, or was it 1 month?
3 months.
It had multiplied.
Yes.
Wow.
So she had extra 2 within the space of 1 month.
Meanwhile, if she had gone with that result to, she would have said, I have 3.
Exactly. So what would have happened is, maybe if we treated her, okay, for someone, let me use this as an example. She had a 9 cm fibroid. She came in and said, we told her, okay, this is what to do, this is what to do. And she went, she didn't come back until after 2 months, and she said she was ready to buy the product. We said no. We had to tell her to go get another scan. And by the time she brought the new scan, it was 13 cm. So you know what would have happened if we had treated her with the 9 cm fibroid? After 1 month, if she decided to go and check that, oh, let me even see if the product is working or not. If the T has reduced the fibroid from 13 cm to, let's say, 10 cm, she would have said it was the T that made it to increase from 9 cm to 10 cm. So it was better that she went back to get the scan. So that's why it's always good that we be on the same page. That this is the size of the fibroid you're starting with. After 3 months, this is how well the product has worked for you.
Sorry, so I want also people to understand what they mean by fibroid from the first place. So if you understand that fibroid is a benign tumor, call it benign because it's not a malignant tumor. There's even some studies that might even say, or no, there might not be evidence that it can undergo malignant transformation. That what means that maybe less than maybe 1% can turn into cancer, but there is no evidence based on that. It's a benign tumor. The tumor is fast-growing cells, something that just is growing and dividing rapidly, that is just growing. So they are the tumors of the muscles of the womb. That's the uterus. So we should also know.
There's nothing like, I just this fibroid scan, and they say I have fibroid, and that is it. It
And
has the ability to.
Yes, that's what I'm just trying to say. With time, like you said, in the next 30 days, it will grow. Then we should also know. So that's why I'm going here, because I want you to understand the mechanism which fibroid works. In the sense that medicine, as out of now, we don't know the particular cause of fibroid, but we know some risk factor that can make you have fibroid or increase the growth of fibroid. Like being born as a black increases you of having fibroid. That's why most people that have fibroids are blacks. Yes, if you go to Europe or this, most of their women who have fibroid, blacks have more fibroid. So if blacks have more white, that means there are some environmental factors that we are being faced here that they are not being faced here. So one is food, diet. There's some food that you take because fibroid is being linked to estrogen and progesterone. That's the woman hormones too. So there's some food that you might take that can increase those hormones. It might increase your fibroid growth.
We come back to these foods, but I would like to still go back to Beraji one more time. Beraji, so you bought the product,
Yes, I did.
and after buying the product, what by this time you have been discharged from the hospital.
No, I was still
You were still in the hospital when you got the products.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was really a step of faith because you were already in the hospital when you got the products, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then was there any other instruction that came with the products, and what was your experience like with the products?
When I was attended to me, explained how I go about it, and I think the product comes in the manual
Yeah.
that you can So I think on the very first sip, what I noticed first was at the time I had some symptoms that
The first time it wasn't bitter. That's very.
oh no it wasn't. I'm very scared of herbs.
Some people have said that to me. He has one funny smell.
No.
He has that.
No, it doesn't.
You are really serious with your legs.
I mean, growing up, we took herbs, and no, I had this fear in my head that, oh God, it wasn't bitter, it was okay.
Yeah.
It began within my morning and evening tea, But what I noticed first, within 3 to 4 days, was the symptoms at the time reduced.
When I say the symptoms,
Pain frequently, pain, I couldn't exactly stand upright,
it reduced within 3-4 days, and I'm like, okay.
After like 2 days in the hospital, I was supposed to go home.
At the time, and I continued, and in a week, I think I sent her, she's like, what's going on? The symptom I was experiencing prior wasn't there. And then she's like, just make sure you finish this. And I did. I took the, I didn't want to take the third one. I took the first and the second. I'm like, no, let me go back for a scan.
And I went back and I reduced by 50%, and I'm like, say what? So I said, I think it was alive, I dropped in a comment because I was like, oh my God.
Right.
And the funny thing that happened was, the doctor who attended to me prior was like, he's checked the result, he's like, we saw like 3 weeks ago, can you share that? I'm like, I used that product, are you serious? I did a scan again, just to be sure. The person doing the scan did it for like an hour. She kept calling someone else because she had tested me before. And I was like, what did you use? I told her, and she was like, okay. She checked her IG. She's like, well, as doctors, we are trained to believe that herbs don't work, but this is, like an evidence. I'm like, okay. So I took the third one. And then I wasn't experiencing any symptom anymore.
Wow.
I didn't forget to add ovarian cyst at the time. I forgot to then I mistakenly stopped because it was a symptom.
mistakenly stopped.
Because I thought there was no pain anymore now. I thought it was just
Typical Nigerian. There's no more pain.
I just left it and I totally forgot about it.
I'm like, you know what?
But then again, I started telling people about it. I started even talking about ovarian cyst more to people. I started telling my friends, I can't check yourself because it was just solid. It was solid for me. And I felt a lot of people would come, are you sure you won't?
They thought I was influencing one. And so I never even met her.
At that time, she wasn't even. We didn't even know. We didn't even know she was an actress at that time.
And the amazing thing is, she actually introduced like 4 people. And there is particular lady that I remember, I've forgotten her name now. I pinned her review on the page for a very long time. So she's our friend. So she was the one that introduced it. She had, I think 15 cm.
She wasn't even a friend.
Oh, really?
I've never met this person. she saw my review.
Okay.
And she's like, I'm about to patronize this speech. I didn't like it. I'm like, I'm not lying. I didn't even know this person.
Yeah,
All I did was talk about the bad one.
Yeah. Really? It reminds me of one lady that had fibroid, the very first personal fibroid experience I heard on that about. What's her name now?
Becky.
This was a doctor that good. Now Becky, if Becky was an actress or a celebrity or an entertainer, people would have thought she was being paid for it because she took it as a ministry. If you are on Olaherbals page and you just say something, she will just come and say, did you use it properly? When did you buy the product? What were you eating? How were you using it? Did you use it in the morning and the evening? Which one did you drink first? She became so I can understand what you mean when you say from your own personal experience because you have been through it.
Oh yeah.
It was something passionate for you to talk to other people about it. I would not lie and I keep saying it. In my head, as much as everybody keeps saying that fibroid is a black woman's thing and everything, I just thought fibroid was for people because even at my biggest, I never had fibroid. At least I didn't. Everybody has one kind of spec or the other, but I didn't. have fibroid, you know. And when I started listening to Ola or being around Ola was when I realized that people can be as senior as doctor.
Yes.
And have fibroid. So that's when I started realizing that it has nothing to do with weight. That's when I started realizing, hearing things like ovarian cyst, keratoria, all that you know. So it just shows how sensitive the woman's body is and how crazy these things can be. But I want to ask you, when you started using the Olaherbals product, apart from the ovarian cyst, did you notice any other thing? I didn't have fibroid, but because I don't like to influence what I do, and the fact that they said almost every woman has symptoms of fibroid that we don't know, I used it for the entire 6 seconds. Of course, I use that for the I don't want to take any risk. But I noticed that there was one thing that I noticed when I started using it. Even menstrual pain reduced for me. Then I had clearer skin. I don't know whether it was the herbs. I don't know. So were there other things I slept better as well? So were there other things you noticed, or it was just the ovarian cyst that you were concerned about?
There were other things. So I'm very, very meticulous when it comes to my body. Okay. Yes. So aside from the pain from the cyst reducing at the time, the menstrual period, like what you said, you could have period for a long time. I felt
it was normal.
It was normal.
Prior to me knowing there was an ovarian cyst
present, I felt it was normal. And my sisters and my friends would joke about,
you understand?
Everybody's normal, right? But I noticed my very first cycle after the herbs, it was shorter, and I thought there was a problem. You know when you use something all your life, and then you start to experience something new. I thought it was a problem because I was already used to a certain number of days. So I remember telling my mom that something is not right. She's like, "That's a good thing." And by the second month, it was still the same number of days I experienced the first day. Maybe I reduced drastically, and then okay. So that I really, even till now, it reduced the days, and then menstrual cramps reduced drastically. That's that once I am on my period, I don't like to even talk to anybody. Just leave me alone. I'm home. I'm not working. I can't do anything. You know, it reduced drastically. Instead of 1 to 10, I still went from like a 10 to like a 2. Yes.
So when you stopped using the product, what did you notice?
I got flogged. Okay, I stopped using the product, and yes, I was watching one day, and I was just straining. Yeah, I woke up with tummy pain that I had not experienced like it. For like a year, I was fine. After like 9-10 months, I woke up with this tummy pain, I was straining up, and I was like, what was going on? Prior to that day, I had something really spicy nights before. So I woke up training, and I was going on, and I was supposed to meet with her in person. But the first time before that time, so I went straight to the hospital. It was an emergency, and they did the scan, and they're like,
across this river.
And the doctor was like, no, it's quite big. And I know. So I called her, and she's like, just come to Lagos, because I was in Lagos. Come to Lagos, you know. And I went to the hospital, and it was bad. When I say it was bad, it was bad. I had to go for a CT scan. I didn't want to do.
So this is a relapse now. Wow.
Yeah. I went for a CT scan, which you know is more detailed than an ultrasound. You know, I went for that. I was in hospital for 9 days this time. Now the symptoms were quite pronounced. Like the tummy was quite big. It was just bad. And I remember calling her, I was almost crying. Oh no, my tummy! And then she was just like, no, wait, you're going to use this product again. She had this. She did that, you know. And I was like, at the time I was going to go straight into the surgery. Like, I just want this to be out. But then again, my doctor said, you've come again. And I'm like, no. So I called and they got her to the hospital. This time around, I wanted to use myself as an experiment. Like, you know what, I didn't want to see what's going on. So I'm like, Mom, it's your window. Then I took it that day. And like, I think about 4 5 hours, I think I slept. I woke up, and what I couldn't do before, like walk around the hospital, I was going to my bed, I did, and my doctor was like, that was when my doctor called me and said, I think you can tell me about this problem. Let's talk. It was the next talk. And then he said, I noticed you in the morning, and now there's like a lot of change that I didn't even experience in 9 days being in the hospital. Then he said to me, go home and use this thing. I'm not even going to touch you when it comes to surgery. I want you to do it because it's working, I can see it. So I went back home, and this time around, I became my water. I replaced water with the herbs because I'm like, no way. You know, it was even worse than the first time. So I was home for like 2 weeks. I said, I'm not going to work. I just want to use this. And by the third, fourth day, I was fine. My tummy had reduced. It wasn't pain anymore, but I mean, everything I was drinking though, I have not stopped because I realized that you can actually, you can still drink for another 2-3 months just so you are sure. We Africans, once the pain is done, I think
no gaps now. Did you go for another scan? And what did they now see?
at the time I went back, I think I just did one about, after we talked the other time, I did one, and they had gone from, the last scan I did was 11.2 cm, they had gone from that to, I think 5 cm.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So, doctor, let me ask you now. I'm coming back to urology. The relapse. What are the chances of relapse, and what can lead to relapse in ovarian cyst?
Sorry, I want to use the word relapse.
Okay, sir.
I want to use the word recurrence.
Recurrence.
Okay, so fibroid could reoccur.
Okay.
Ovarian cyst could reoccur.
But fibroid too can reoccur.
What do you mean by reoccur?
I've seen people that said they did fibroid surgery, they removed
Yes, reoccur again.
But we are going to fibroid.
Yes, so reoccurrence is common in ovarian cyst. You can have an ovarian cyst now, you use something, you're doing anything, and it degenerates, and you can still have it on the right. You can have an ovarian cyst on the right ovary now, and later, maybe in 3 months, you have an ovarian cyst on the left ovary. You have 2 ovaries, you understand? So it's possible.
It shouldn't, sorry doctor, it wouldn't have reoccurred if she finished her business. Exactly, she did.
What's the ideal dosage for?
3 packs, 3 months. And I think she used 2.
Okay, 3 packs, 3 months can cure you. But you would advise can treat the ovarian cyst.
Yeah, then
would you advise to use again after 3 months?
Well, for her, I would advise to use again.
Okay.
Well, there are some people, like the person she introduced to the brand, she had 15 cm fibroids and it went completely. In fact, they couldn't even rule out that it wasn't cancerous.
I think she had fibroid and ovarian cyst
Together, and it went completely. She said, in fact, I love the way they presented her scan because they drew it as big as the size of the ovarian cyst. They actually drew it in the scan, and by the time she went back, there was nothing, as in not even that it's reduced to nothing.
Both of them,
nothing.
the fibroid and the cyst.
Did she have a cyst?
Well, I think a major complaint at the time was
cyst,
not cyst,
fibroid.
it was painful. She said she couldn't even, like, when you're driving and you're pothole. The moment the car enters the pothole, she's like, oh my god. When she's on the bike, it's bad. So like all her on Instagram, I had to hear her talk, and it was very bad. Very, very bad. She's had it for a long time. She's learned to manage
It's
it.
interesting that you introduced her to the product. She follows the dosage. I didn't have a reoccurrence. But you did not follow the dosage and you had a reoccurrence.
Yeah. But I think I took it upon myself
to read more about what an ovarian cyst is.
when I realized,
As long as you're ovulating as a woman.
You can have that's what
yeah, as long as you're ovulating as a woman, yes.
That's the genesis or the etiology is normally we have eggs which they call ovum. Most times they undergo growth for you to ovulate. Do you understand? So there's a certain size and time of your cycle. The eggs will come, grow in size, and they will reach a certain size and ovulate. That's what comes to the egg that becomes fertilized and you get the baby. But in some cases, the egg will just continue growing without ovulating. So that's what leads to ovarian cyst.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions here. We are sorry, okay. We'll be taking your questions right now. Please exercise questions with us. So they are complaining that we are not taking questions. Meanwhile, there's also a complaint here that the volume has reduced. Okay, so the first question is, how do you treat those tiny multiple fibroids in the uterus?
How do you treat those tiny multiple fibroids in the uterus? That should be to doctor.
You know what I'm saying? Fibroids normally are abnormal growth. They are tumors, benign tumors growing. So it depends for us as a doctor. Depends if your fibroid is not symptomatic. as in you are not showing symptoms of your fibroid, you don't have any other complication. Maybe you have fibroid, multiple fibroid, you are trying to conceive, or you are having pain or any other thing. Most times we will just try to tell you that we can give you some dieting management or lifestyle modification that can reduce the fibroid. Because as of now, there is no specific drug medically that removes fibroid.
Okay. Alright now. Surgery, Olaherbals, whatever you try to use, you decide to use to treat fibroid or ovarian cyst. I've always heard you talk about, just like he has just said now, lifestyle and diet change. How does this affect the result of either the surgery or the herbs that they are using, and what is the diet supposed to be like?
Okay, like I posted a video yesterday talking about Chinese medicine. There's something that is called the brain and the bow, that means the root and the branch. Now, when you undergo mastectomy, that's a surgical removal of fibroids. It's just like cutting off the fruit of a tree. You're not dealing with the root cause of the fibroid. No, we don't know the root cause. But how the herbs work is that it goes to block the oxygen supplies to the fibroids, then it begins to die off. So it's important for us to see a scan report first before we go ahead. So the question is, what was the question again?
How does the diet affect?
Now, we can actually separate herbs and nutrition.
Okay.
Because what you eat. And most of the time, the chronic diseases that people have can actually be treated using herbs and nutrition. Conventional medicine, conventional medicine doesn't really work for chronic diseases. Like somebody is depressed and you're giving the person antidepressants instead of therapy. Yes, antidepressants.
Medicine is evidence-based. Yes, even like I said, if you use a particular product and it cures or treats the particular illness or disease, and I can try it in A and B and D, and the same thing, the drug is working. Even in China, as I know, some of their practices involve traditional or herbal medicine, which they license and people use it conventionally. So medicine is evidence-based. Like, if she says depression, I don't want to say anything. But we know that if we give you antidepressants, you get
All right, that's good. Like I said, I'm not going to allow both of you. I've seen other engaged doctors on this issue, and they can go on like this for hours. Because he will not budge and she will not budge. I still need you to talk about your diet, but once again, I want to say to our audience that we did not take questions at the initial stage because we wanted you to hear what they have to say. We start taking questions from the beginning. I know my people. You will use the questions to distract us. We will not be able to address the issues that we want to address. So you can start sending your questions in and we'll start reading them, and then Dr. Bowaji and Ola will start attending to the questions as we move along. But before you go to the next question, you still need to round up on the diet where it happens.
Okay, so like I was saying that fibroid, ovarian cyst and chronic diseases, we can't actually separate herbs nutrition from those diseases because we are actually what we eat. And when we are taking the herbs, and you're not dieting per se, but there are some foods that you need to stop eating for the product to be able to work effectively. Just like
doctors are taking drip in the hospital and they are eating.
Exactly. Just like doctors will say, when you're taking, like saying, I'm on antibiotics and I'm eating alcohol, milk, and all of those things. Or I'm treating malaria and I'm sleeping in a malaria infested room. So how do we expect it to work? So much more like fibroids, you're treating fibroids, there are certain foods that actually encourage, exactly, they actually encourage the growth of fibroids.
Okay.
So we need to stay away from those foods so that the herbs can affect. Exactly. Okay. So that is why we usually, that's why the products come with a meal plan.
Now that's my next question. Do all your products come with a meal plan?
Not all of them. the fertility package comes with the meal plan, the fibroids do, the ovarian cyst do, the PCOS does, every other one.
Okay, so this product that you're talking about now, is it for everybody that orders? That's if I order one, I will get the meal plan. Abi, is it a VIP package?
No.
I just want to understand. Because I heard somebody say they bought before they didn't get a meal plan. And I was wondering.
No.
Okay, so you get a meal plan as long as you buy the order about
Yes.
so that you can use it accordingly.
Absolutely.
We'll come back to the support group and how you are able to help them to monitor this diet. That is in my head to ask you, but let's go to the audience so that they don't feel left out.
What if you have done a scan and you don't have fibroids, but you experience symptoms of fibroids?
Then I think you should do this scan again.
So I want to understand what the person means by the symptoms of fibroid.
Okay.
So maybe we should understand, because like we said initially, most times fibroid are asymptomatic, they won't present with symptoms, but there are other symptoms they can present with. We call one is menorrhagia, the period is excessively long.
Yeah.
And then two, it can also present with painful sex. It can present with abdominal bloatiness. That is your tummy is just big.
It's menorrhea.
But what's that? If you go and do a fibroid scan, can they discover an ovarian cyst?
Yes, scan can show many things aside fibroid.
So if the person did a scan now,
And he's not having fibroid.
then what is something else?
What's the symptoms she's presenting with? It depends on the symptoms. You can not have fibroid, maybe you are presenting with something that is related, that is giving other symptoms that are fibroid. Just like, let me just give an example. You have fever. It's not really malaria that can give fever.
Yeah.
There are only like 20 things that can give fever.
Yeah.
So then because you don't have malaria, there's no mean you don't have fever. Yes, so that's
You have typhoid.
yes. So it depends on the symptoms she's
So
complaining.
whoever that is online, you can send us some of the symptoms.
The
so that
symptoms you will experience. So the next question is, what causes pain after ovulation? Normally I have pains during ovulation, but now the pain is coming after ovulation and I'm urinating more. So she's urinating more and she experiences
symptoms. Okay, so just like me, then when it's around my ovulation time, it's painful. So I know, okay, this is my most fertile time. It became a problem when I started experiencing the pain, even after ovulation. Because the first time I detected ovarian cyst, it wasn't during my ovulation period. It was after. So that was when I had to go in. If it was during, I just thought this is normal. Yeah, it was after. I just knew, okay, this shouldn't be happening after. So most likely that person needs to do like a proper scan to detect that. And the symptoms she said, like pain frequently, was one of the major symptoms.
Actually, it was from Ola that I heard that for the first time.
Well, the story is if you have any mass in the
That's working on the bladder.
so that's compressed or given a pressure, it's most times it's pressure symptoms that is causing, if it is ovarian cyst will come fibroid, any other thing. It might not even be fibroid, it might be a mass from the liver, it might be anything that is causing pressure, just like you're putting pressure towards a balloon. So you want the water you want to leak, so you want to have urinary frequency.
So what is the difference between the scan that you do here? What's that called?
We do pelvic scan, it sounds like and sound
and
again.
CT scan.
Well, CT scan is okay, let me just say the first modality for ultrasound is a pelvic scan, is an ultrasound.
Okay.
But in some cases, you might want to check for other things
Okay.
that might not be visible with ultrasound. So a CT scan will give you that
So
evaluation.
how much is like a CT scan?
It's a pelvic CT scan as of now. It's not something everybody can afford. It's like only 65-70,000.
How much do I do it for?
I don't know. She was saying, see, for my history, she had a pain that is worse than the previous pain. So they want to know whether there are other things. Then they were also thinking whether it was all the malignant. God bless you. So they were thinking maybe it was because you can have some cysts like, let me just give you an example.
This person that said she did a scan and she did not say, would that kind of person need a CT scan for what other investigation?
The problem is, let me just give you, the problem is the person is not being specific. What symptoms do you have? You might have urinary tract infection, UTI. PID. And it will be very the same way. Then you are not having fibroid. With the pain frequently, you will be having abdominal pain, right pain, you might be, if it is even PID, you can even have
Someone asked me that earlier today and said, okay, what exactly is causing the pain during sex when you have fibroid or ovarian cyst? What exactly Because most women experience that.
When you have fibroid or ovarian cyst, what exactly?
Painful sex is one of the symptoms. So what exactly
is saying that? I know people that don't have any and they still have painful sex. So normally.
What causes that's what I said. I don't have no access. I'm still ready. I'm going to doctor. Thank you. So what I'm just trying to say is that painful sex, like let me answer our own question, if you have fibroid or if you have ovarian cyst, the womb has a space already. If you don't have something, the mass that is stretching it. You don't get this volume here.
Yeah.
You have something that's stretching, making it expand. All our body is being innervated, and there's nerve, there's something. So if you are stretching the muscle like you want to elastic, it will give you pain. So when you are now having sex, you are not introducing something again. It will not cause pain.
Okay.
But there are some people that they don't have any of these things and they still have pain.
Okay.
Normally, based on sex, that's all. Let me just digress a little bit. Let me just go to infertility. So people will understand the definition of infertility. Infertility is the inability of a woman or a couple unable to conceive after having enjoyable sex at least 3 to 4 times per week. Within a period after 1 year. If you're having sex one time per week, the chances of you getting pregnant is like 17%.
So they say that even with once you can get pregnant.
Oh yes,
let me tell you.
at the right time.
Even with common, let me use this word, sorry to say, quickly, you can get pregnant.
How do you get quickly? I thought you said relative.
The global age, the internet now, so you don't have to, but for you to conceive, so you must be having sex every year, which must be enjoyable at least 3 times a week. Yes. Then, so like I was saying, so most people usually have the pain. The normal woman should not have pain, excessive pain while having sex. Sex is created by God to be enjoyable. So if you are having pain during sex, there are some conditions that could cause it. Number one of the major conditions which also causes infertility, which most people know, and it is endometriosis. Endometriosis just means when you have the uterine lining or the uterine tissue just the womb tissue, outside the uterus. Do you understand? What I mean is that what makes the uterus? You have some parts outside the uterus. So what that also means is that anytime the uterus is bleeding, that means you are menstruating. That place will be menstruating. I've seen patients, this is evident. I've seen patients that if the endometrial lining is in the one I've seen most times in the belly button, they'll be bleeding from the belly button. There are people like that. If is inside the body, maybe all those places in the body within the ovaries, they'll be bleeding there. If it is inside the lungs, they'll be coughing out blood.
Okay. So
those kind of people, they usually have cyclical pain, especially. So because those tissues in endometriosis, they are maybe within the ovaries or within the ligament. So when they have sex or around the vagina, they will have pain. You get? So those people, most times they will not want to have sex because they feel a lot of pain. When they are seeing their period, they feel a lot of pain too. In some cases, sex is about trusting. Some people usually don't have enough. Some people don't have enough lubrication, which could give them pain. There might be so many factors that could respond. Some of them we don't need. There are some people that just let me be safe, like their vagina is very dry. So when you have friction, you have pain.
Okay. I want back to this is a sexual topic. So Doctor, your last word on this fibroid pain and sex. So would you advise someone that has fibroid or ovarian cyst to desist or avoid sex until it is treated?
Personally, as a doctor, it depends. If anything that will affect your social life, that will affect your sexual life, you need to manage it. If you are having painful sex, you are not having a good sexual life, you need to manage or treat it.
But they are enduring and enjoying. So I can see some people that are smiling. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So next question.
I have ovarian cyst and I have not seen my period for about 4 months. What can I do?
Yes, like you said, ovarian cyst could give you menstrual disorders. Menstrual disorders can mean the eye form, like excessive period, or you are not seeing your period at all. So when you are not seeing your period for 4 months, that means you might not be pregnant. You cannot get pregnant rather. So you need to consult or see the doctor.
Doctor, you are too nice because we're having other adults lie when we're talking about our programs, we're talking about the choices that you have. If you are not seeing your period for 4 months, I am not being aggressive, I am not being aggressive marketing, I am just advising you and that every Tuesday we have consultation at Olaherbals in Lucoji bypass, and we also have CT scan. Come and walk in. Right now we're celebrating our 50 years, 50K followers, and because of the process we take birthday. And so we have a combination of golden experience, so you can come in and get one of them is free scan done, and they will not only it is a free consultation and then you pay for scan. But God is good. God is good. You get to do free scan and free consultation. You don't have any excuse. You are not seeing your period for 4 months and you are sleeping and you are eating and you are watching Netflix and TV. You are risky. You are taking a risk and a chance that you will probably regret in future. Olaherbals is open. If you are in Lagos, no matter how far you are, it is free consultation and CT scan. And then we are not in Lagos, you can go to any other place.
So I have a question for Rand, the doctor. What is the difference between ovarian cyst and PCOS? Because I think the symptoms are like, but people can differentiate.
Our opinion so far.
Okay, so the next question is from Vera, and she's asking what's the difference between PCOS and ovarian cyst? Okay. I made a video on the page talking about the difference between ovarian cyst and PCOS, so doctor will shed more light.
Like he said, ovarian cyst, PCOS, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Both can cause or can lead to infertility. That's inability to conceive. But they are not similar at all. One, ovarian cyst is just an abnormal growth of the ovary, which is making it have like a cystic kind of something, mass. That polycystic ovarian syndrome is a combination of plenty disorder. Yes. From number one is your ovaries are polycystic. Polycystic ovarian is big. They are just tiny follicles. Then hyper androgenesis. One is you have high levels of the hormones. Yes. Then the third one is menstrual disturbance, which majorly the one they have is usually amenorrhea. They don't see their period. So you can see someone that if you are not seeing you might have PCOS. Yes. Then PCOS is very common. We don't really know the reason. It's common among maybe 18 to 35 is PCOS. You can see a patient or a female that says she has not seen her period for 9 months.
So does that mean someone with PCOS is hardly ovulating or what?
Yes, that's one of the criteria. It causes anovulation, no ovulation at all. Most times, in 70% of cases, they are not ovulating. That's why they can't get pregnant. So that's why most times, medically, the management of PCOS is usually making you get pregnant.
But you can have ovarian cyst and still ovulate and get pregnant.
Yes, yes. But in PCOS, especially if PCOS, you hardly ovulate. Yeah. So there are some signs and symptoms of PCOS. Like I would say, PCOS is usually common among people that are obese. That's why one of the major management of PCOS is lifestyle modification and diet. It's common among people that are obese. That means when you're on the big side, when your BMI is more than maybe 25, you're at risk of PCOS. Diabetic people, You understand? Then there are some signs you will see that you might notice that you might think you have PCOS. Like one, if you have excessive hair growth,
Facial hair, chest.
yes, all this thing, then the make papa hair growth. Then there are one kind of rash that you might see, black rash. Yes.
Like tags, body tags. For some people, they usually have black underpins and
yes.
yeah.
It's a sign.
These are symptoms people have and overlook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some people even think by the
see
time
that
they use some cream and all of that.
How about period every 3 months? They don't know that about PCOS.
And for some of them, when the period comes, it doesn't end.
Yes.
It goes or 30
So
days.
some people can see that period for like 45 or 50 days. Because it's hormonal menstrual disturbance. I'm serious. People usually have these symptoms and they present to us and we see it.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Someone says, please talk about endometrium hyperplasia.
This person is taking us far
Actually, I made a video of this, so you cannot shed more light on it.
The thing about endometrial hyperplasia, like the endometrium, we should understand what the word endometrium is where we shed, is in uterus. It's where we shed every month that gives to the period. It is where the baby implants. Then the endometrium has a measurement. When you are menstruating, there will be a measurement. That's when it's usually thin because it's shed. Because anything that sheds will become thin. When you are ovulating, it's thick to a point so that it is a medium for it to accept the coming fertilized ovum so that it will grow. When it's over thick, is a problem. When it's over thick, like endometrial hyperplasia, is when the endometrium is over thick. Then it depends on the age group I'm seeing it. If I'm seeing someone close to menopause, I'll be thinking of cancer already, endometrial cancer. Endometrial hyperplasia is a risk factor for endometrial cancer. Then there are some things that also can cause it. Some drugs too can also cause endometrial hyperplasia. So endometrial hyperplasia, if they tell you have endometrial, you're thinking endometrial, you need to evaluate it seriously.
Okay. The some of these questions that are coming up continuously, and different questions are coming up continuously. So I'd like us to maximize time and take advantage of. I have a question here that says I have someone that has been menstruating that has not been menstruating for 5 years. What can she do? That's wild. 5 years.
That's as the person menstruated at all before. That was what you should first establish.
Okay.
There are some people that we call not menstruating for more than 2 months or 3 months is amenorrhea. That means you're not seeing your period. Amenorrheic. So if it is PAMI, what do you mean by PAMI? That's you've not seen it at all. Because I've seen women that they've not seen their period at all since they've been born. I'm serious. If you don't have ovaries, you are born without ovaries, or you are born without uterus. There are people that are born like that. I've seen someone that is really a week, 2 weeks after wedding, and she knows she doesn't have ovary. She doesn't have, I said ovary, uterus. Because she did a scan, and she said, we couldn't find the uterus. And I asked her, have you been menstruating? Because when you don't have uterus, there is no way you menstruate. Okay, so I asked her, have you been menstruating? She said, no. I said, have you not evaluated the reason why you are not menstruating? She said, no. I said, okay. But there are still ways we can do that. So I want to go back to your question. Please remind me.
Endometrium, okay, you've
Mm.
talked about that. This is
5 years. So the person needs to be evaluated. Is it the first time, or have you menstruated 1 year ago and I'm not menstruating for 5 years now? So the first thing you do is scan first. Yes. Then how old are you?
Can't overemphasize this scanning thing.
Scan precisely because if the person has to go for hormonal profile, the person has to be menstruating.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. If you do a scan first, if you do a scan first, and the scan is showing that you have a womb, you have an ovary, that then can actually go for more because a disturbance in the hormone of the hormone of the woman can cause you not to menstruate.
Okay.
Any hormonal disturbance can cause a woman not to ovulate. Even as bad as if someone has maybe thyroid disease or something, it might not make you menstruate. Even if you have there's something like you mentioned earlier was galactoria. Galactoria is hypolactin. Hypolactin is when normally prolactin makes the breast produce more milk. So if you have it in excess, so most of the reasons why people have hypolactin is most 50% of cases people don't even know.
So hyperactin is the same thing as galactoria?
No, hypolactin causes galactoria. Galactoria just means making the child lactating, yes, becoming pregnant.
But hyperactin is what?
Hypolactin is an hormone that is being produced from breast to secrete milk.
So what's the symptom for that?
Hypolactin and galactoria are almost the same. Yes, that is the hypolactin that also galactoria is a symptom.
So you can't treat one without the other?
No, galactoria is a symptom of hypolactin.
Just a hormone. So when it is too much, it causes galactoria.
That's what we do. So prolactin is an hormone, but when it is excessive in your body, then you begin to lactate.
No, the reason why you want to use that is really associated with that. You might have hypolactin and you know the I want people to recognize you might have hypolactin, which is the major reason why you are not even pregnant. You will not be producing, you will not be lactating milk.
Wait, so hypolactin can cause infertility too?
Yes, hypolactin is one of the causes of infertility now. That means the reason is that you will not be able to ovulate and you might not even see your something.
How do you know that you have hypolactin?
You have to go for
Yes.
hormonal acid.
It's possible, but it's
Some people, they are lucky that they experience that feel from their breast.
some people know that. Some people, it's when their boyfriend or their husband is trying to do something. That's when you know that.
Things.
And that's because you not having no patience.
So when we asked me a question about Olaherbals product,
Person
said, how come all I got from Olaherbals was a fibroid pregnancy, ovarian cyst, and
about products when getting pregnant. You know what? That they need to know why.
They need to get our ring. What's that?
They need to explain that why are we getting pregnant?
Because just like doctor said, a lot of the root cause of all these things always end up leading to infertility.
It's all
so when you are
about
treating these symptoms, then you are going
so
to
this thing can just get me.
I think even if these things are not causing infertility or other issues, we will not be talking about them.
Yeah.
If you have PCOS, as a woman, I always say that. I always tell my patients that if as a woman I have PCOS, I'm getting pregnant, I might not be worried.
And what if I have ovarian cyst, fibroid, PCOS, and I do not want to get pregnant, but I'm using Olaherbals, but how do I do that?
You cannot be asking doctor that question.
I'm asking her.
You cannot even be asking her. Why? I'm here to tell you. I will show you what you can do. How much is it?
15,500.
Just 15,500. Can you give it to me?
Okay, so if you're because it doubles as a fertility team. When we are treating fibroids, we are treating ovarian cysts, we are treating the hormones that are not balanced. All those things happen because we have hormonal imbalances. You're having fibroids because estrogen is too much. You have you have a lot of you have excess estrogen in your body. And when we are talking about infertility, we're talking about progesterone. Maybe you have low progesterone, or maybe you have hypolactin. So when all of these hormones become balanced, you have a high chance of getting pregnant. So that is why it doubles as a fertility treatment. Like just last week, somebody angrily came into the DM and said, "I'm pregnant. So what should I do now? Should I discontinue dating?" You know, I was already dancing until when they now came to tell me that she does not want the baby. This one that you are dancing was dancing so much, and I said, "No, I'm dancing."
Someone is pregnant. She doesn't want to that.
So if you don't want the pregnancy, this is what you use. The contraceptive jewelry. So I'm using this jewelry. My baby is 2 years old. I've been using it since it was 1 year, and I think 2
what you're talking about. Can a man wear the ring?
No.
Only a woman can wear the
Yes.
ring. But I can see the way you are looking at her like, Moturi me.
I'm shocked.
No,
She doesn't look like it.
This ring, she doesn't look like she even know
No.
dickiness for that matter. But we will not talk about that. We will address that off air. So please get me. I'm all about supporting you and helping you, because I notice that people are afraid to get the ring. Some of them think it is this thing is just it's made in China.
So somebody said,
sorry, let me stop speaking Yoruba. Like she said, it contains a progestin hormone. Yeah, so that's why once it comes in contact with your skin, it does the job. So I would advise, if you're not ready to start having children, I would advise that as soon as you start taking any of the other about fibroid or ovarian cyst, those products for PCOS and all that, get the ring alongside with it, so that don't end up becoming pregnant and we are running back to other, because we don't do abortions in other.
You have the baby and you are happy, you are going to dance. So I want to ask you this question, because this person says, the doctor told me the fibroid is small, insignificant and cannot disturb me. My question is, why do doctors tell people, when you know that it's a growth, it's a tumor, why are we being told that the fibroid is insignificant? Better still, I think it would be proper to say, change your lifestyle, change your diet, instead of telling why do doctors tell patients that the fibroid is small and insignificant, you can manage it, it doesn't disturb you, and 3 months down the line the person goes back and from 2 cm is already 7 cm.
Yeah, see, like we said in medicine, the etiology of fibroid is really unknown, but there are risk factors for it. So the management of fibroid most times is usually maybe surgical from our own end. We will give drugs for it to just reduce. When you stop the drugs, it even comes back. That's when prior to surgery. So since now, the only management we know of fibroid is surgery. You have a small fibroid, maybe like a 1 or 2 cm fibroid. We can't tell you to go and take it out now. Since you are not symptomatic, you are not giving any symptoms.
Can that person use herbs?
See,
so avoid it growing.
Yes. See, like I said, that I want to ask you, from I would talk as being a doctor, okay, and also being like I consult and scan for them, in the sense that let's talk based on medicine. In medicine, the fibroid is not disturbing you, but what we do is diet modifications and lifestyle modifications, which will reduce the fibroid. Then we should also know that some of these herbs, irrespective of where it's coming from, are usually made from food or plants, and also which usually are natural too. Yeah. So, like I said, and which I am convinced is medicine is evidence based. If from our own end we tell you a small fibroid, you can't operate it. You can't operate it.
We can use herbs to like manage it and all.
Yeah.
But is it possible for you to have a small fibroid and it's causing symptoms?
Yes, it's possible. That is like fibroid, like most people know, they have different locations. We can have intramural fibroid. Intramural is just gamma, just medical gamma. It just means that it's within the wall of the modules. Those are the most common ones, like about 60%. Then we have the subcells, that one is outside the room. We should know, because most patients complain that it's not fibroid, you will have fibroid, it's still within the room. It's just that it's just the part of the room is located. Yeah. If this is a cup, subserous fibroid will be here. Dermal fibroid will be where these white things. And it's the last one which I want to use to answer your question, that can be so small and still cause you heavy bleeding. Yeah. We call it submucous fibroid. That means it's within the endometrial cavity where the baby implants. So that's what also shed when you are menstruating. So when it's in that place, because it decreases the surface area of that place, when you are shedding, it will take a longer time for it to return.
Okay. I have a question for you. Can someone using your product take a COVID? Can a fibroid patient using your product take the COVID vaccine?
Yes, you can.
For you to come up, then that means it must be.
Yeah. So yes, you can, but you have to stop that treatment for a while. Say 1 month. before you can continue.
Does it apply to only COVID or any vaccine?
Any vaccine, any conventional medicine at all. So that it doesn't interfere. So we do not advise the use of our products with conventional medicine.
Please.
So you have to stop it and take, more like if you have malaria, you have to stop it, or typhoid, you have to stop taking it, and treat yourself, then you go back to the herbs. And then for me,
move forward. Increase your volume.
Okay.
This thing I'm very serious. It's very, very important. If you are taking the herbs.
Okay, so if you're on our herbal products, and you take ill, like you have malaria or typhoid, you need to stop taking the product and treat yourself.
Okay.
And that was the reason why earlier this year we came up with herbal medicine for malaria.
Okay.
For someone like me, if I have malaria, I don't do conventional medicines. I stopped a long time ago because I'm AA. And I keep treating malaria like every 2 weeks, so I had to stop it to go herbal. So I actually strictly went herbal. So if you're like me that does herbs when you have malaria or typhoid, you can keep taking it. But if you have to take conventional medicine when you have malaria and you're on the treatment, I'll recommend that you stop the fibroid treatment or ovarian cyst or PCOS and treat yourself. Use your conventional medicine. When you're fine, then you can go back to the herbal product.
Now, you know why I'm asking this question. I have seen someone using your infection product.
Okay.
And the person was still using antibiotics.
No.
You know, it says that your infection was for insertion and then the antibiotics is to kill it from inside.
No.
So you can't use the two.
No, you can't use the two.
Okay.
So what do you tell someone who has fibroid and started using your tea, and along the way the person got pregnant and fibroid is still there but has only reduced? What do you tell them?
Okay, so at that point what we do is to change the meal plan. You have to suspend the use of the products. Once you know that you're pregnant, you have to suspend the use of the products. Then we change your meal plan. Okay, so some 7 years ago, I took in and I had multiple fibroids, multiple ovarian cysts. So what I did was to change my diet entirely because I waited for a long period of time before I conceived. And the options given to me was evacuation. So imagine after waiting 7 years and you finally get pregnant after failed IVFs, after failed IUI, mixed semen and a lot of things, and you naturally get pregnant. And they ask you to evacuate it. So I said no, it would be better for me to just manage the pain and change my diet, change my lifestyle. So most of the time when you get pregnant and you still have the fibroids, if you change your diet, change your lifestyle, it will shrink.
To a certain extent.
Yes, it will shrink. If it doesn't shrink totally, when you have the baby, then you can keep taking the products to remove it entirely. But sorry, doctor, there's something I want to ask. What was the question again? So if someone is pregnant and the person has fibroids, I understand that after certain weeks, the person cannot have a miscarriage. Please, can you shed more light on it? Like if I'm pregnant now, okay.
Like we say in medicine, in most cases, fibroid might not cause you from not getting pregnant.
Yeah.
But it can cause miscarriages. So if you have fibroid in certain areas, it can lead to miscarriage. Then most times it can also lead to excessive pain. It could cause something like degeneration of fibroid during pregnancy. It only occurs during pregnancy. But when you are like after your second trimester, because most times what fibroid causes pressure symptoms on the baby. Is either it's compressing the baby, it's not making the baby grow. So there will be a period it can't do anything to the baby again, except it leads to maybe premature contraction or premature delivery of the baby. Yes. So most times when the baby has passed some certain times, it's very difficult for the fibroids to affect it.
But when you have fibroid, can it melt and come out as blood clot?
In medicine, no. What people usually mistake is that because they have fibroid and they are taking maybe one thing or the other, and it's giving them blood clots. No, when blood, it's just like you bleed every day. now become so solid.
Yeah.
They will say it's coming now. I've seen a lot of patients, because I'll be realistic here, that they say they take one that they saw the fibroid, they will show me the picture, I will see something like a mass. When I still scan, I still see fibroid.
Yeah.
I've known patients too that have taken one episode or the other, that they had maybe a 7 cm fibroid,
And shrunk.
and I'm not seeing anything. If I was not the patient that scanned,
You won't believe it.
I won't believe it.
Okay, doctor, please tell us about tell us about Becky.
Yeah, I think
When you scanned Becky the
No,
first time.
the first time I think the first time I met her, I think I was scanning her, and then I saw a fibroid. I think fibroid. I can't really remember the size, but then
There were 3, 4 points.
so when I saw her again, I was just seeing one with my eyes. I was like, what happened? What do you take? She said she took apps. I said, fine. If that was what you took for this fibroid, and to really make it just one and it's not there again, I said, continue taking it too.
But why are doctors skeptical about herbs?
Let me tell you, that's why let me tell you that. Let's just be realistic and I can't talk as a body of doctor. I'm just talking based on myself. That's why I always try to tell you that medicine is evidence based. Evidence based is that you are taking something that's giving you results. Before any drug goes to the, you try it. Like, does it really work? Because you might even take water for malaria, and you try drugs. The water will work more than the drugs. They will tell you that drug is not working. So, but if we should also know that herbs and nutrition, they are the same thing. But what makes me usually skeptical is that, do we know how you get your herbs from? Do we know the side effects? Have you tested this in a large population first? Is it really working? That's why.
So it's not like they are totally against it.
No. That's why I'm just trying to say that China usually supports about it. Even there's a part I don't know in lower state that there's traditional medicine. If you can give us evidence based and you can say that this thing will not cause any harm or anything to anybody, why?
But when they use your product, does the fibroid come out as blood clot?
No, it shrinks.
It shrinks.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not I use Olaherbals tea and then I went to the toilet and then things are coming out. Not because I've heard people say that, and things are coming out of my body and then that means that the fibroid has gone.
No, because I want to say something. Sorry for
No problem.
I want to just like infertility generally. I also want to just talk about infertility before, so that we won't just. We should know that infertility in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, is not a woman's thing.
Okay.
Do you understand? What I mean by one thing is that it's not only caused by the women. The percentage of the causing of the who has the fault within the couple for women is 35%. For men is 35%. So they have the same percentage. Then for both causes that both of us are causing it, the reason why I'm not getting pregnant is 20%. Then there's another 10% and nobody can explain. Because the numbers of patients I've seen too, they usually have issues with their sperm count or something like that, and they will think the women. Then for women, we have some causes that people don't know. One, it might be the womb, that's the, it might be your tubes. Like if people don't fix their infections, PID, it could lead to tuber blockage. Tuber blockage most times causes irreversible. That's why irreversible means that there might not be anything of medicine that we can do.
Does herb work for that?
For tuber blockage, it depends on the type of blockage.
You have.
So if
That's why
hydrosal things caused by infections, it can be treated. But if it is scar adhesion,
Yes.
it cannot be treated. So we usually recommend IVF.
Yes. Do you understand? So that's something that people should, if you have infection, you have chlamydia, treat it. If you don't treat it, it can lead to infection. As simple as, let me just tell you this, most people know, as simple as there is something we call the cervical factor in women infertility. Cervical factor means that, as you know, when you are ovulating,
Cervical mucus.
yes, the cervical. If it's too thick or you don't have cervical mucus, it might not allow the sperm to, because that's thing. The reason why God created it is just yes, is for it to make sperm move. Then the major emphasis was on male. Male to usually cause infertility for a couple. The woman is fine, and the male. But you know, in Africa, if you are not producing child, they will say it's the woman. Where sometimes it's male. So some men, based on infection, poorly treated infection, they have low sperm count.
Does Olaherbals have herbs for men?
Yes, we do.
Oh, fantastic.
You have some.
We have herbs. No, because it's always, you know,
Always talking about that's an African thing.
That's, yeah.
It's an African thing. No, as in every not
But we
Africans,
usually ask them.
we have ego. You can't just come now and just tell me, it's my husband that is having issue. Even if your parents ask you, you won't tell you your husband.
Yeah.
You try to.
It's safe to say it's the woman.
That's also an African thing. I'm not saying.
In fact,
I told.
we scanned someone before. The only issue was fibroids, but she was trying to conceive. You know, and I was asking her questions about herself. She was answering me, you know. Then at the point, and I asked, okay, what about your husband? And she said, no, nothing really much. Then doctor walked in. So, you know, doctor had already asked, the doctor now said, but your husband has low sperm count and all of that. You know, women, we are not ready to open up. And I just think that we should try as much as possible to do that, because she wasn't because I was already, you know, trying to crack my brain, like what exactly is going on. No low progesterone, nothing. I've looked through her scan then, and I said, okay, what about your husband? He said nothing, you know. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. We should just speak up so that we can, you know,
solve the problem. So there are products for those products.
Yes, and men too, please, the ego, please don't refuse to go for semen analysis. Within how many hours, the result is out. So please help us, help the women, help us. So once you're unable to conceive after active sex of 1 year, then you need to speak up, you need to, you know, ask for help. Men, please do your semen analysis. It's very important.
So other than
at this point, Beraji, wait, both of you hold that thought. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to excuse Dr. Ayodeji. Awubinga area. I would like to excuse Dr. Awubinga. There's, you know how doctors are. They always have to go and consult or take care of somebody that is between life and death. It's not because you are polyphase, it's because you have to take care of patients. So he has to go. He has a call and he has to go as quickly as possible. But we're still here, and Ola would answer some of the questions that we have still outstanding before we round up and we go. The good thing is that Doctor and Ola, they've rubbed each other ego to the point that Ola can stand in for a while until the next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. God bless you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully we're going to have this kind of live session again, and we still have Dr. Awubinga back with us, and then you can ask more questions. We also want you to know that the Olaherbals IG page is very active. Send them a DM with a question, and start it by saying, I would like to ask the doctor, so that the question can be forwarded to doctor, and doctor can respond to it as quickly as possible. So the fact that he's leaving now does not mean that you cannot get answers to your questions. Your questions are still valid, and we're here to answer them. I'll go back to Beraji as Beraji takes the next question she wanted to ask Ola.
Yeah, I wanted to ask her, other than low sperm count, which is quite popular
Yeah.
in men, are there other things
Other
that
things,
a man
yeah.
can experience?
Experience that can cause infertility in a man.
Yes. Okay. So poor morphology. That's okay. Yeah. If a man does semen analysis and you look through the microscope, this is what I've experienced before. Because so when I talk out of experience.
Yeah.
When we're trying to conceive and it wasn't forthcoming, so we did semen analysis and I did the first IUI, I did the second, and it kept failing. And I said, Doctor, what is going on? He said, okay, at this point you need to come and see the analysis yourself. And I looked through the microscope and I saw, sperm is supposed to have normal shaped head with this tiny tail, right? So I saw some that had 2 heads, some had 1 head, no tail, some had 2 tails.
They were disjointed.
Exactly. Some were swollen, very poor. Some were moving very fast. Some were just very sluggish, So if 80% or 90% of the semen analysis is this way, there's no how pregnancy can occur. So the most important thing first is semen analysis, to check if the sperms are moving fine, if they have the normal shape, okay, if they are not so sluggish, if they are not dead, some are even dead, So these are things, even if the woman doesn't have low progesterone, doesn't have blocked fallopian tubes, everything is fine, and the partner's semen is not okay, pregnancy, conception cannot be achieved.
Awesome.
So it's very, very important.
Awesome. Do we have any other question there before I go to the questions I have?
Let's go.
Okay. Someone said, I've not seen my menstruations. See, let me just quickly add all these questions together. All these questions that have to do with menstruation, because I personally believe that the answers are the same. I have not seen my menstruation since November. What do I do? Number one. What of period that comes once in 3 months and the person is not pregnant? Number two. All these menstrual things, let me put them together. Then, is it normal to menstruate twice a month? That is number three. Then how can someone with irregular period calculate over? Okay, that's another one. Let me just leave those ones together. But all this, I saw period in January. I didn't see till December. It's irregular. It came for 4 months and it don't come. Answer all of them together. What of period that comes once in 3 months and the person is not pregnant? Join them all together so that we can make progress.
Okay, so doctor already answered his question, and what he said was, the first thing first is scan. You need to go do a scan to know what exactly is going on, because most of the time these things have similar symptoms. So to rule out the presence of maybe you have uterus or no uterus, you need to get a scan done. Now, if you need to check your hormonal, your hormone profile as well, you can do hormonal assay to check your hormone profile to see if you don't have low progesterone. And sometimes some people may be underweight.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
So if someone is underweight, someone that is normally the person is supposed to weigh like 60, 65. The person weighs 35. I've seen that before. Yeah. So the person weighs 35. Yes, you may not menstruate, or if it comes, it may be maybe for a short period of time, and may not flow well, maybe 1 or 2 days. So that's why some people have fibroids, and you would expect that they will be bleeding so much, but if they are underweight, they are not bleeding.
Okay.
And for such, for instance, someone came in and with fibroids of say 15 cm, and we advised that, you know what, the best thing to do at this point in time is to undergo mammectomy. And she was like, why? I can take it for 1 year. I said, that is not even the point. The point is that you are underweight. You are 35. She weighs 35.
Wow.
So if we now take out rice, take out this, take out that, that means what's going to remain? You're going to be like 20. Exactly. You're going to go like 20 kg. So that was why we advised that she goes for that. So the first thing first, go for a scan. When that has been ruled out that there are no other issues except hormonal imbalance and all of that, you can do hormonal assay to know what exactly is going on there. Do you have PCOS or low progesterone or some other things?
Okay. But is it normal to menstruate twice a month?
Yes, it's depending on the time it comes. Okay, so let's say you menstruate today, April has 30 days, right? So let's say your menstruation starts on 1st of April, and you're menstruating again, say 29th or 30th of April, so it's possible.
It's possible.
So depending on the length of the cycle.
But if that now happens constantly?
No, that shouldn't be constant.
Okay.
That shouldn't be constant. If it happens constantly, then you need to go for a scan.
Okay.
So I have a question. You said something about when some clients come in and
They have a large CM or maybe cyst or fibroid. Why do you suggest that they do surgery at that point? Is it that if they try and use the products, it might not work, or it takes a longer period of time for it to work?
Okay, so a 17 cm fibroid is as big as this. Okay, so for this to shrink, it will take a very long period of time, and we don't want to keep you on the herbal products for more than 9 to 10 months. And that would definitely take more than that. So you have to pause, and start again. So instead of staying that long on the product, why not just go for mammectomy? And for you to be experiencing fibroids as big as this, the symptoms is going to be like you're urinating frequently or you're bleeding exactly. So before the bleeding stops, it might take a while. So we don't want to put you under, all these conditions. The best bet at that point in time is to undergo mammectomy.
But we had clients that still used it and it worked. large?
Yes, we had one person who had who used it, and amazingly, it went down. You know, one thing about those herbal products also is determination. Some people just determine that, no, I'm not going for surgery. Whatever you ask me to do is what I'm going to do. So there are some people that are determined, they decided that it is this herbal product or not, and we get amazing results from them.
One that you
17 CM. Right, yes, I know how to write an agreement. Yeah. That, you know what, you're taking it, yes. Yeah. And the first 3 months, it went down from 17 to 13 cm. To 13 cm. But, you know, there are some people that will say, okay, the people are saying, it's working, let me just use it. And then they use it today, tomorrow they don't use it, next tomorrow they don't use it. Exactly.
You want to eat, which takes me to Beraji. Beraji, what was the nutritional instruction that you were given when you bought the product?
I can't exactly remember what the name right now, but one thing I know, I stopped eating. I don't know how to do it for 2 years. It's really.
I took that out of I haven't tasted red meat in like 2 years.
You have not tasted red meat in 2 years?
No, I replaced my red meat with like snails, chicken, turkey, fish.
When you're upset and
I don't take it, they know. Even my friends, my mom would not cook and see there's meat in it and I'll take it. No, I don't take it.
Oh, so you
I remove that, yes. I don't take red meat.
And that helped with your healing?
Yes, actually.
So
yeah.
that's it. It's funny that I'm asking that because it's almost like we're in sync, because there's a question here that says, can I eat red meat or any of the things of the fibroid red flag once in a while? And so Kuberaji is saying she didn't even touch for 2 years. So Ola.
Okay, so you get addicted to these things when you say once in a while. What's your definition of once in a while? Now, somebody says, can I eat rice once in a while? Can I eat red meat once in a while? All of those things actually helps estrogen to increase. So imagine someone says, can I eat long grain rice once in a while? Then you eat till Monday. Then Tuesday, you eat red meat. Wednesday, you take ice cream. Is once in a while. Thursday, exactly. So all these once in a while.
So I'm eating ice cream once this month, but you are eating red meat. You are eating rice. You are exactly.
So what's the definition of the once in a while?
Okay, so it's best to
just take away those things. And for someone like me now, if I take groundnuts, I know I react to groundnuts. So I feel like, it's just little, you know. Then I go back again, it's just little. Before you know it, you've emptied a bottle.
Yeah, but you see, like you said, you react to it, so you get the report sheet immediately.
Yeah,
so you know that I shouldn't have eaten this thing. But for these things that we are talking about, you don't even know the consequences, because you keep taking them, but it's damaging in your body, but you don't even realize how it's affecting you. Or like something like granola, that immediately you see the results, you know that it's because I did this thing. This is different, and that's why Olaherbals keep saying it's best to abstain at least until you finish your treatment, so that you can calculate the process of recovery. Any other question on there before I go to my own question here?
No questions. Please, if you have your questions, please just drop them so we can attend to.
Beraji, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Ola, because I'm trying to rush so that our we can pack everything together. I don't have PCOS, I don't have fibroid or ovarian cyst, but I bleed continuously for months. My own question is, how do you know you don't have all those things? Have you done scan? Have you gone through what Ola calls investigation, examination and all that? Have you gone through all that? Now, let's assume the person has gone through all that and the person's results now comes out all negative. Why is the person bleeding?
Okay, so on the page I usually talk about fibroids and say one of the symptoms of fibroids is heavy bleeding, irregular bleeding and all. Please come for, examination, come for consultation, scanning. Let's know the status of the fibroids. So someone walked in here last week Tuesday, and she complained that she's been bleeding heavily, non-stop. And by the time, I actually thought it was fibroids, but I told her to go for scan. When she came back, I looked at the scan, no fibroids, no ovarian cyst. Then we had to, advise her to go for a biopsy to check her endometrium. The endometrium was actually looking irregular, very funny. You know, it's not like a normal the way the normal endometrium, that's the uterine lining, how it will look like. So we encourage her to go for a biopsy. So it might not be. So when you bleed, that's why we usually recommend that you go for a scan, go for investigation. So now she has done scan, it is not fibroids, it is not ovarian cyst, it might actually be endometrium hyperplasia.
Yeah. Okay, so, because like you're saying, it's weird. If I just sit down now and I start seeing blood on my skin, and then we clean and there's no cut, it's only commonsensical that you do further investigation, because that's blood, that's life.
So she needs to do that so that we rule out the presence of cancer
Actually, yeah.
So that was why we recommended that she goes for biopsy. So when you experience something strange, please don't keep quiet. Don't think it's normal. There are a lot of things that are not normal. Please go for further investigations. And the earlier I told her, the earlier you do this, the better. Before they start telling you it is one stage, is stage 1, stage 3, stage, you know. So the earlier the better.
You can control it. Bewaji, when you became, first you were a client, then you became a friend of the house, then you became an influencer. As at the time you became an influencer and you were telling your story and talking to people about this product, what was the level of reception? Did people just assume that, oh, she has been paid, so she's just talking rubbish? Or did they really understand that you're coming from a place of experience?
Well, maybe some. I became an influencer even before I became their influencer. Yes. I started preaching about aggressively on my Instagram and even in person. I made a lot of referrals and all. And yes, you know, as an actress, people think that every time you come and represent a brand, it's just because you've been paid. Yeah. No, I became an influencer because, first of all, the awareness is not wide enough. Yes. And then seeing a product that actually works, I'm like, I can't keep this goodness to myself. I had to start sharing it. So there were some people that came into my DM when they saw her pin my video and her pen, they're like, is it true? Is it not just like collected money? I'm like, no, it works. Yes, some people think, no, is it not staged? No, I'm like, no. So yes, I had some people like that, and I had some people who know that I will not represent a brand that I can't confidently brag about. So they took that leap of faith and like, okay, if it worked for you, let me try. And I've never had a bad review. Yeah. So disappointed me.
Because I know how people keep, even when people keep asking me, have you used it? And I'm always telling them, I used it, but I didn't have fibroid.
No, I won't influence your brand that I haven't used.
Yeah,
I want to be sure it's safe enough.
Yes, I put myself out there. So when I'm talking and I'm passionate, they're like, because I have used it. So I can't exactly talk about it passionately, but I have gone through it.
Even listening to your experience and everything makes it more valid for me. But I would like to also find out from you, when you started to influence for them and you started getting the reviews, did that have any positive impact on the level for which you wanted to influence more for the product, or was it now I'm a brand ambassador, or I'm an influencer, or is this still from, oh, I have seen it work for other people, it's not just about me?
Yes, it's from that, because recently,
even just about PCOS and fertility issues. Recently, a friend's mom was talking about diabetes, arthritis, and I found myself saying, try all that. Yeah, it's not just about this fertility thing. Now I pay attention when people talk about certain things. Yes. Exactly.
Me.
Yeah, I'm quite passionate about it. I know that we have a treatment for it. I even have to send a team. Respond to that DM. Somebody's chatting you up, you know. So yes, I'm very passionate about it.
So why do you always act like I'm the only one that stresses you? So this is really exciting. We have the fibroid month coming up. When is the fibroid month?
July.
July
is Fibroid Awareness Month, and it's going to be very big because we want people to be aware that fibroids doesn't kill, but the symptoms, it can cause other things that can be life-changing. Let me put it that way. Yeah. Like if you're bleeding, if a person is bleeding continuously for say 30-60 days and the person becomes anemic, after losing so much blood, what's the next thing, you know? So people need to know that this thing is, you need to just take care of it, whether you're going for surgery or you're going herbal.
Yeah.
It is there, it might be there, you need to take care of it so that it doesn't grow out of proportion.
So the Fibroid Awareness Month is in July, and we'll be announcing the date for which we're going to have our own Fibroid Awareness Day, where we'll be giving lectures like we did last year, explaining what happens, symptoms of fibroid, what leads to fibroid. You will also have a doctor on hand for quick consultation. So if you're the kind of person that wants to talk for like 3 hours, doctor, I have a bit no, it's also my back, it's also my grandmother that was doing me, I was seeing her in the dream. We may not be able to consult with you, but it is quick consultation of this is what is wrong with me, and then they can quickly check you and tell you what it is. We're going to have a doctor on ground, Ola will be on ground, and hopefully Bewaji will be around for this year's Fibroid Awareness Day. So let's
Okay, so this question says, after your treatment, can one start eating everything, or does it mean that they're going to rule out all those foods for life?
Can I ask you one question? Can I ask you one question? After you move out of Mushi and you move to Lekki phase 1, would you like to move back to Mushi just to go and enjoy the Amaladia? Go on.
Okay, so can your treatment cure 3 fibroids, about 8 cm, 6 cm, and 5 cm. I'm in the UK and my doctor said I'm safe to have kids, but my concern is I constantly have pains and with a bloated stomach. Why is this? Okay, so well, we need to see your scan reports because we need to know the uterus size. For you to have 3, 6, and 8 cm fibroids, that means your uterus is going to be very, very big. Okay, so my advice is for you to shrink this fibroid a little bit, even if it's a little bit before you conceive, because this number of fibroids, and it also depends on the location. If they are in the womb, they might cause miscarriage. This is too big. 8 cm fibroid is quite big, and it's not only 1, 3 fibroids. You have 3 cm, 8 cm, and 6 cm. Please shrink the fibroids before conceiving because it might cause miscarriage. Okay. Can someone take your tea and still wear the contraceptive ring? Absolutely, please, if you don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Because the number of babies, people that we've had pregnant and have had their babies, are not as much as the number of people who have terminated pregnancies. Yeah. So we don't want, that was actually what bettered the
contraceptive ring.
So the next question.
You're sure you don't want the ring?
No.
Can I eat offals, kidney? Okay, I don't understand this question. Can I eat offals, kidney, liver?
Can they eat inuero? That's long and short of the whole story.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No. Red meat is a no, please.
Yeah. Are we done?
Okay, so those are the questions I have.
Okay, does the 14-day ovulation cycle calculation apply to 28 days cycle?
Okay, so it depends on 28 days. Yes, it does. It depends on when you're... I made a video on the page. All you need to do is just calculate when the start of your menstruation and calculate from day 10 to day 14. You should ovulate within these days, okay? Regardless of the number of days, regardless of the number of cycle or your period cycle. Okay, so just start. Let's assume that your menstruation, the first day of your menstruation was 1st of April. So you count from 1st of April till say 5th of April. Okay, so your menstruation stops on 5th of April. So you want to know when you ovulate. You should ovulate on day 10. If you're naturally a 28 or 30-day cycle, you should ovulate between day 10 and day 14. So for someone like me, I'm a regular 28 days, so I ovulate on day 13 or 14.
Okay.
So just count 10. You can, if you're trying to conceive, please start active sex from day 10, between day 10 and day 14. Okay, so because a sperm can actually live in the tract for 4 or 5 days if it's healthy, no infections and all.
Yeah. Okay, but this calculation you're talking about now gives back to my next question. How can someone with irregular period calculate their own ovulation? Because this is regular person you're talking about now.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You're still going to menstruate before you ovulate.
Yeah.
So if you start at least you know the day you started your menstruation.
Yeah.
So if today is 7th May,
count still.
You still count from that 7th May. You can't miss
The
it.
only difference between you and a regular person is that you count your own ovulation every month.
I don't
Or
think
like-
it should be constant.
It's constant.
Yeah.
But hers, she's going to count from whenever she starts her menstruation. So whether it is regular or irregular, just count from the day you start your menstruation.
Can you be menstruating and still not ovulate? Is it possible?
It's possible.
You see your period and you're not ovulating?
Yes, it's possible if you're stressed up. So when we are stressed up, our body produces a hormone called cortisol. So at that point, the body is telling you, because hormones are actually chemical substances, they tell our bodies how to work. Okay, oh yeah, ovulate, don't ovulate, you know, produce, don't produce. So prolactin, oh yeah, become high, she's eating too much sugar, you know. So they tell your body how to actually work. So now, if you're stressed up, your body just looks at the whole thing that, no, so we need to go into survival mode now. Production or reproduction is not the thing, but survival. This body must survive and not die. So they shut down reproduction. So anything that has to do with progesterone, prolactin, all those things will shut down. Then you begin to produce a lot of cortisol. So cortisol is actually a stress hormone. So it helps your body to just remain in the survival mode. So you can menstruate, okay, and you won't ovulate because of cortisol. Okay, that's why people actually menstruate and they don't get pregnant, because they are not ovulating.
Ola has actually answered this question, but I'm going to just read it so that you know that she has answered your question and you don't feel bad about it. I have been bleeding for a month. I have gone to the hospital and yet there is no change. What can I do? Go back to the hospital, go for a scan, go and see a doctor, but do your proper investigation. You are not doing something right because you are not supposed to be bleeding for 1 month non-stop. That's not even safe or healthy for you. Before my period was 5 days, then it became 4 days, then now it's 2 days. Please, what can I do?
Please go for hormonal assay before it ceases completely.
Hormonal what?
Profile. Hormonal assay or hormonal profile.
Okay.
Before it ceases completely, you may have low progesterone.
Okay, that's a straightforward answer. I would also like to ask, can someone conceive after menopause? Great question.
Conception after menopause. That's the Holy Spirit that has taken charge. Which
No, if you use Olaherbals product.
No. Conception after menopause. Holy Spirit has taken charge entirely.
Completely.
Clinically speaking, biologically speaking, you cannot conceive after menopause.
Okay.
It's not possible. So,
Okay.
except of course, because I strongly believe God, there is nothing impossible for him to do.
Yeah.
You see records
So-
where some hormone in 6 days.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that.
So in fact, for me, I believe God so much because while I was waiting to conceive, I tried. I was on fertility drugs and a lot of those things which didn't work for me. IVF failed, IUI failed. I was on Clomid for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
Clomid actually helps you to ovulate for more than the normal regular 2 days. Then at a point I stopped everything and I was like, hey, let me just go natural, change my diet, my lifestyle and everything. There was this particular time that I ovulated for 7 days.
Wow.
Yes, without Clomid. So that is why I believe that there is God. Without Clomid, I ovulated for 7 days. And when you're trying to conceive, you get to this point that you just get tired of sex. And you're like, the ones I've been doing for the past 7 years, what happened? I beg, please, just leave me like this, So I had gotten to that stage in my life that no more sex. And I started ovulating. Day 1, I told myself, it will stop. Day 2, day 3. On the 5th day, I was like, maybe something wants to happen. No, maybe I should just try. So that's why I tell people that what led to Samuel, the sex that led to Samuel, I can tell you, you know exactly when Samuel entered. Exactly, because for a long period of time, there was no sex. I wasn't having sex. Then that morning, my husband was going to work. I just dragged him over this man. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I didn't even know I was pregnant because after then I went off again. I was so scared because I was like, hey, I hope my husband will still trust me. Yeah. That's to show you that there was no sex at all. I said, this one that I'm pregnant because I went to the hospital, I wasn't feeling fine. And doctor said, I have malaria. when you're trying to conceive, you will have a lot of test strips in your house. I had done the test and they all came out negative. So when I got to hospital, they said, okay, let's do pregnancy test. I said, don't worry. We've been doing this one for the past 7 years. Don't worry. Just, I think it's typhoid. I even treated malaria.
Oh, Lord.
God just saved the baby. I even treated malaria myself. And lo and behold, I said, don't worry, don't delay me. No pregnancy test. Just do malaria test, treat me, let me go. And the doctor came back and said, you don't have malaria, you don't have typhoid, but you are pregnant.
Awesome.
I started screaming and shouting. And when I came back to my senses, I was like, hey, I hope this guy still trusts me.
Yeah.
Because it's only, there was a one-off. What happened?
Like they were said, one of them.
After all the house sex and put pillow in your legs and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So it's possible for you to, when God is involved, it is possible for you to menstruate for that long period of time. Ovulate. But medically speaking, ovulation is just for 2 days.
For 2 days. So
48 hours.
Okay. There are people who don't even know that they are ovulating. How do you know you are ovulating? Forget about you count 3 days, you count. What are the things that you notice in your body that you now know that, okay, I am ovulating?
I think I personally, like I said, when around that time,
I feel pain on the side of which I'm here. Then the 7 talked about there's a type of discharge you look out for when you're ovulating. I think there was even a time I didn't notice it. And then I went to the hospital and my doctor was like, why did the doctor? I said, I pay attention.
Yeah.
So I know that type of discharge is healthy during ovulation. It aids conception when you have sex. And so when I don't see those things, I'm okay, there's a problem. But when I see them, I'm okay, it's around that time. And the other symptoms too.
What should I, for example, I don't know whether I'm ovulating or I don't know what is ovulating. I'm a matured woman, maybe I'm 35 years old, I am still single, I'm even married, and and everybody keeps talking about calculating, ovulating. I'm like, I just woke up one day, I got married, I had my first baby. Now I'm waiting for another baby. I don't know what is. So what are the things that, some in African context, not everybody had the privilege of a mother to say these are the things to check. Not everybody went to school and read these things. These are things that by virtue of relationship or communication. So if you're like probably an only girl in your house, no sisters, not too many friends, you may not know. So what are the things that somebody will look at and say, I am sure I am ovulating?
Okay, so the cervical mucus actually changes, at different times in the month. Okay, if a woman has infections, their cervical mucus, your body actually tells you everything. Okay, so if you're ovulating, during menstruation is different. After menstruation, few days after menstruation is different, maybe a little dark. Then when you're ovulating, it should be stretchy, it should be transparent, and a little bit stretchy. Sliming. When you break an egg, that white stretchy, the egg white, not the yolk.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like that.
Clear.
So it means that you are ovulating. Well, that's for experienced people. Okay, but for someone who is not experienced, you don't know how to calculate it, it's best to get an ovulation test kit and start testing from day 10. For some of us, we know that when we get cranky, sometimes we have ovulation pain, sometimes we have elevated body temperature. Yes, you can know, with that as well.
So can you get pregnant when you are not ovulating?
No, you can't get pregnant without ovulating.
Okay, so now I'm pardon my lack of understanding. If you are ovulating and you are feeling pain, how does sex become enjoyable?
Oh, not that kind of sex, not that kind of pain. Just very mild, kind of pain, but you still know that.
Just know
it's not a continual, it's bearable.
It's not like menstrual pain.
No. For that period of ovulation, once you're done. It's not constant, like maybe when you have an ovarian cyst present and then this pain is constant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can enjoy sex during ovulation.
Yes.
Better, I heard.
It's even better because then the mucus that she said.
I don't know.
No, I'm trying to I'm trying to confirm from Ola that gives some kind of lubrication and helps to deal with the friction.
Yes.
Okay. Because
So
when me, I'm like
questions
doctor said, I'm a virgin. I don't know what they are talking about. I don't know ovulation. I don't even know menstruation. I don't know any of these things that they are talking
So this
about.
question says, if someone with ovarian cyst got pregnant, hope it won't affect the baby or the mother. No, it won't. No.
Okay, so that's the difference now. If someone with ovarian cyst gets pregnant, it may not affect it will not affect the baby.
No, it
But if you have
will
fibroid,
cause
it may.
pain. It will. It will cause a lot of pains.
But in fibroid, in the case of fibroid, it can affect the baby.
It can affect the baby.
So that's
it
the
can
difference.
cause miscarriage.
Okay. Oh,
So-
it can cause miscarriage in fibroid.
Yes,
But
fibroid
it
can
will not
cause
cause
miscarriage.
miscarriage in ovarian cyst.
No.
Okay.
Ovarian cyst might not cause miscarriage, but because it's on the ovaries. But fibroids, yeah, very painful. But for fibroid, in fact, very, very painful.
So
When I was
not
pregnant,
once.
yes, when I was pregnant, that was when I knew, that was how I knew. 13 weeks into the pregnancy, there was this pain that would wake me up 3:40 a.m. every day. 3:40 a.m. Exactly. At the time, I thought it was spiritual. Because
only 3:40.
3:40 a.m. you know?
I think it's because of ovarian cyst pain, because in the middle of the night it gets worse.
Yeah.
It gets worse. I had that experience too.
So I had to go to the hospital and we discovered that it was ovarian cyst. Multiple.
So you didn't know you had ovarian cyst before you got pregnant?
No. I didn't know. With all the tests and all everything, no ovarian cyst, no fibroid. So I'm thinking maybe before I got pregnant, or
maybe it was even on the medication you were taking that time.
probably, or maybe too much of Clomid, because
those
that can cause ovarian cyst.
I think we're about to round up now. ladies
Yes.
and
So
gentlemen.
then
Any other question? Ola, anyway, I would also like to say,
someone told me that stress can also cause bloated stomach, making the stomach so strong, or even fibroids. I will recommend that stress can actually cause fibroids. It can elevate the symptoms. It can actually make it worse. It can make fibroids worse, cause it to grow bigger. So if your stomach is this big, please go for a scan. It's advisable that you go and do a checkup. Please go for a scan.
okay, while Ola is checking whether we still have more questions before we round up, I would also like to inform you, ladies and gentlemen, that the Olaherbals page is a very, very, very educative page. And she doesn't even, this is a one-off. She doesn't need guests. She doesn't, I have seen her do 1.5 hours, 2 hours live talking about particular topics. So go through the page, and the good thing is they are titled. So if you want to know about diarrhea, go through the page. You will see where she's talking about it. When she's talking about endometriosis, you will see the page where she's talking about. So anything you want to know, just go through the page. There's so much information. There's more than enough information for you when you access that educational page. Most importantly, you can also send your messages as a DM, your questions as a DM to Olaherbals page. You can send them to the Questions Bosse page. You can send them to Adewaji page, and then one way or the other, we'll get the questions back to Ola, and she'll respond to you as at when the time is right. I think, are we done?
Just one more question. For the other questions that we are unable to take, I'll take them subsequently in my live chat. So this question says, does bilateral endometrioma cause brown spotting every day? Yes, it does. So I will encourage that you go for a biopsy or you go for a pelvic scan. See a doctor for further evaluation. It's very important.
Before we go on, I want to ask a very important question that I've been asked so many times. And I'm going to ask all of them together, so you answer them together. What is a pap smear? Why is it important to have a pap smear? And when should we have a pap smear?
Okay, so every lady, as long as you're a woman, it's very, very, it's key. Okay, sometimes, okay, like when I was trying to conceive, I actually did that. Okay, it's knowing your general well-being is very important. There are certain tests, there are certain scans to carry out as a woman to eliminate or rule out the presence of cancerous growth, to rule out the presence of infections, infertility, tumors, and all of that. So it's very, very important. Then pap smear is carried out after menstruation, I guess. I'm not too sure. I can't remember when I did mine now. I'll get that fact okay, across on the page. So as a woman, all the steps are actually important at least once or twice a year for you to do.
What does pap smear confirm? Is it for infection or for cancer or what exactly?
Cancer, infection, yeah, he would have brought more on that. I really don't know, much about it. But for me, I did that when I was trying to conceive, to rule out infections and cancer.
Okay. Can you please take a note of that question so that the next time we have doctor, we'll actually do more in-depth information about, because I hear it's something that every woman above a certain age should do, and I talk to women and they say, what is pap smear? So if everybody should do it and they don't know they should do it, then we need to let them know they should do it and why they should do it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an amazing, beautiful way of spending my Sunday afternoon. I have absolutely no regrets because I'm with my 2 baby sisters who are also amazing people that I have had to enjoy my time with. Bewaji, I have known over the years, wonderful actress. You need to see her movies. You need to go and follow her on Instagram. If you are not following her yet, you need to follow her. She does amazing and ridiculous TikTok videos, and you will just laugh and say, I didn't even know she had that much mischief in her. So follow her on TikTok, follow her on Instagram, and get to know the beauty of her talent and her creativity. And of course, Olaherbals, the woman that stumbled on this miracle that God has sent her way. And I really keep saying this because I am passionate about Ola. I know the before and after of Olaherbals. So I am not just an influencer. I don't even call myself an influencer. I just call myself godmother of Olaherbals because there's just so much that I believe that God. I make fun of her all the time that when you were selling shoe and bag, were you this happy? Were you this happy? Because if somebody buys a shoe and a bag from you and they say, they like the bag and they go away. But this every day, I see you dancing, you're praising God, you're celebrating, testimonies after testimonies. That when even customers start telling you, thank you, after they are paid, then you know that you are doing something right. So this is Ola, and I just want to thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the time. Thank you for not just selling products, because it's not about the product, it's about the time and the energy you put. When I listen to you talk, I know that you are not just selling products. You investigate, you research, you read. How do you even remember these things? I don't know. All the big medical like
terms,
we went to school. How did she cross from this place to this place? I talk to her sometimes. I forget she's not a doctor. And every time, just like you, when things come up, do we have product for even the things that don't concern her? She will now say, let me call them in China and find out, because I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you so much for giving of your time, not just selling products, but also being passionate about what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is The Precious Bosse, and it's always a pleasure to talk about health, nutrition, and lifestyle. Don't forget, like Ola is always saying, don't just use herbs. Change your diet, change your nutrition, eat right, eat good food, eat food that is not made in a factory, eat food that is not created in a lab, eat food that grows from the ground, that you can actually tell the history. Eat food that your grandfather and your grandmother would have eaten and they would recognize. God bless you. Have a fantastic week. See you some other time.
Thank you.
Oh, amazing.